Okay, so we're continuing in this little series where I'm rebuilding my website, nocodable.dev using Dittofi. In the last episode, I went and created this header. So if you recall, we have the header here. When you get down to a smaller screen, it brings up the menu. It also makes the icon a little bit smaller or the logo a little bit smaller. So today, what I want to do is on the smaller screens, I want, when I click on the menu icon, I want the menu to appear down here below the little header. Okay, so we're going to work on that now. So the first thing I'm going to do is drop a div in here. And we'll set some sizing here. So we want this to be 100% width. And the height, we'll start with 120 pixels. That may be too big, but we'll see how that does. Now the position, I always want it to be just below this. So I'm going to set the position to absolute. And if you remember, our header or navbar is 75 pixels. So we'll set it to 75 pixels, and that should always bring it right below the header here. Let's see. So the layout, I want to be flexbox, but I want it to be vertical. And I'm going to center, align all the items in the center. And then I want to put space around, I think, or space between. We'll see how this looks. And then just like the header, I want this to be a background color. One too many. And then 90% opacity. So that should get us where we want there. And then I'm just going to add some spans here. And you can't see it because it's pretty much the same color. Click on it and go to, if you remember, these have the class of span one. So I want it to be the same class because I want it to look just the same. So I'm going to add that span to this. And there we go. Now we see that. And then I'll just go in here, change this to services. And then I'm going to copy and paste some down. And then, so for this one, we'll say we want this to be FAQ, and this one to be contact. Oops. Okay, so I want some padding on the top and bottom of the div. So if I go back here, we'll say we want 10 padding on the top and bottom. It's a little bit better. I still think this is probably a little bit too big. So we'll make the height maybe 100 pixels. See what that does for us. Yeah, I think that looks better. Okay. All right, so now this is where it kind of gets tricky for this. So I don't ever want to see this menu when it's on larger screens. So I'm actually going to go into here and I'm going to hide it. So the layout, if I go in and make this display none, then on this side, so basically when I can see this menu is when I want to be able to see this. So that's when I'll go back in and say, I want to be able to see it. Okay, so first I'm just going to build a code, and I want to make sure that I'm seeing the menu when I expect to see it. So we'll start there. All right, so we go over, yep, okay, so perfect. Now obviously I don't want this to always be here. I only want it to show up when we click the little menu button there. So I'm going to go back in here. I actually thought, see, I had set this. I guess I didn't set it to a pointer. Let's see. It doesn't look like my hover state is working just right. Oh yeah, that's all set. Okay. So, okay. So I've got this menu. It shows up when I want. So the way to actually control whether it's clicked or not. So if I'm on div here, I'm gonna tell it when I want it to show. So what I've done is I've created a variable, and it's show mobile menu, and it's a checkbox or a boolean, and it's initially set to false. All right, so if I go back here and I say only, well, so this is going to be referenced off the show mobile menu variable. But I'm actually going to go in here real quick and write just a little formula. Say I only want this element to show when show mobile menu is equal to true. So again, it's a checkbox. You can see it's by default false. So if I do that, just real quick, I'm gonna rebuild the code. So now we should not see it. So let's just make sure that that is the case. So I drag, okay, perfect. So it's not showing up. So then what I want to happen is when I click my menu button, I want this to essentially set that variable to true. So I've got a front end action, and you can see here, all this action does is when an element's clicked, it checks to see if show mobile menu is true. If it is, it sets it to false. If show mobile menu is false, it sets it to true. So it's basically just toggling the value of that variable. Okay. So on my menu span here, I want to, let's see, so I can't, so I can't set a front end action on the span. So what I'll do is I actually just add a div real quick. And I'm going to take my span and place it in that div. So now, let's find out. If I go to this div, I'm going to just do a little bit of margin here to throw it over. And actually, I need to change a couple of things as well. So on larger screens, yeah, that's still all working good. Actually, on larger screens, I just want to make sure that that div is not visible. Okay, so if I go back here, and select the div, I want it to be visible. Okay, so smaller screen is visible, larger screen is not. Perfect. Now, when this div is clicked, what I want to happen is I want to run a front end action, show mobile menu. And so then that should then display this. All right, so I think that's got everything I need in there. So let's build the app. Let's see what we got. Go back here, reload the page. Scroll down, scroll down. There's my menu. Click it. There you go. So now I've got my menu popping up when I click this. And so the reason we want this to not be visible on large screens, because if we do click this and it's open, when we go to larger screens and the menu comes up here, we want it to go away, right? So there you go. So now we've got our navbar, our header, all set to go on our website here. We've got responsiveness, we've got menu when it's on large screen, and we've got a menu for mobile screens as well. So next, we'll work on building this this header section or this masthead section. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching.